So our neighbor, our area here actually has sirens that go off at 6 o'clock and then 8 o'clock, and it says 6 o'clock is the time to start trick or treating. 8 o'clock is the time to stop trick or treating. So yeah. Hey, I will say this: JJ came prepared to trick or treat. Look at that beautiful costume. I love it. I could not put mine on because I had the inflatable wacky wiggler.
Yeah,
thing,
I saw the photos.
Yeah, I couldn't put mine on either.
Because you also had an inflatable wacky wiggler.
No, it's because I didn't have one.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna wait till you get to the point where you have to start dressing up.
Wrong. Incorrect.
I'm fully prepared. I got the whole.
He's ready to bust some ghosts.
It's funny to see you so misguided, Deli.
Yeah, I know. How are y'all doing on this beautiful Halloween evening?
Oh, fantastic.
So ready to drive to work tomorrow, let me tell you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
I've been watching horror movies all day. I've been just enjoying my life.
I watched a horror movie based on your recommendation, which we'll get to.
I think everyone except for Taylor has seen it here now.
Yeah.
Which one?
Barbarian.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's about, the it's still in the BC era of tribes in the Southeast Europe that were barbarian.
Yeah,
takes place in Dolly's in his neighborhood.
That's where they
have the neighborhood.
It felt just like your hometown, didn't it?
It felt just like my hometown of Brentmore. That's Barbarian. We'll get to that in a second. Is there any news worth talking about right now on the old SideQuest? I'm sure there was something.
Nibel quitting Twitter is honestly it.
That's the biggest news story. Yeah.
Let us talk about that. So, Nibel, who is quite possibly the quickest trigger in the world when it comes to breaking news. I have no idea where Nibel gets their information from, but he's extremely well connected, very trustworthy. Nibel at Nibelian. Nibel is the kind of person, when we talk about leaks, and we've talked about leaks extensively in the past year on SideQuesting. When we talk about leaks, Nibel is the name that is essentially 100% trustworthy.
Yeah, instead of the true kind of rumor aspect of things, I would guess that it was he probably maybe had a miss or two, I would say. Yeah. But he did it for a long time. And it was then you knew that it was real was when Nibel posted it. You're like, oh, okay, that's not just a rumor anymore. Yeah. We're talking real shit.
I can imagine Nibel's having 10 screens up with TweetDeck open and columns for every single publisher, developer, people.
Can only imagine.
It's that the Dark Knight scene with
when they go to the war room.
Yeah,
the war room.
Yeah, and now after he posted this, it did that thing that's with Morgan Freeman just frying all of it at once. So
Gaming's Dark Knight, gaming like that. Gaming's Dark Knight. But they've announced that you can read that note there. They said, you know what, we're done. I'm done. Doing stuff on Twitter. I think in a subsequent interview or notification to VG Video Game Chronicles and a couple other places, he basically said, yeah, part of it is definitely the Elon Musk thing with Twitter. The other part was obviously Patreon. He just couldn't do the stuff on Patreon that he wanted to do. Happy Halloween there. Couldn't do the stuff on Patreon that he wanted to do. It was difficult to keep up with, and
it's a hard thing to turn into something to sustain yourself with.
Yeah, right.
Wario.
The job.
Exactly. And which is when you're tweeting in that way, it is right. You don't have time to do other things, and that was their plan, was to do that. But the difference is that people like Wario are out there also inserting advertisements and stuff they've got affiliate links and stuff like that. Not that Wario's a complete sellout. We rely on them for many different things. But
officially in our Discord, he has his own channel now.
Yeah.
Yep.
that's right.
I just bought the Vampire Hunter D collection from Humble Bundle through his affiliate link, and
There
he
you
got
go.
like $2 out of me. So
Yeah. So, but anyway, the point is that I mean, from what I saw, I mean, I if there were affiliate links that Nibel had started to post, I missed it.
I didn't see it.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
there's no way
And-
for him to do that. It's not like he was selling a product.
Well, that's what I mean, is that he wasn't reposting stuff going on sale. It wasn't 80 posts a day on every individual item that was discounted or whatever, or new sales and stuff like that. And that was part of the allure of, like, when Nibel tweeted, it was like, oh, something happened, or like there's news or something. And
I had notifications turned on for Nibel, like legit had notifications turned on. I think
but
most
the
of
problem
them-
the problem was that we have entire journalistic enterprises that are trying to find a way to survive. One person tweeting is its own monolith to try and support, and it didn't work out for their use case.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen like full-blown massive websites crumble this last year for
Right.
for trying to do what he's doing by himself or them. I don't know.
It's mobs. It's Mob Psycho.
It's Mob Psycho.
It's,
Yeah,
it's the Psycho Helmet, the one and only.
Yeah. Pour one out for Nibel, and they've locked their account. They basically said, "I'm going to leave this stuff up. I don't want to lose the name, the Nibelian tag out there. It's just so people know that it's that it's me actually, having posted the stuff in the past." So, but we're gonna miss Nibel. Hopefully that somebody else is out there to pick up that torch. I mean, Wario, we live by Wario now from the standpoint of deals and news, but Wario tends to retweet the stuff that Nibel used to tweet.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where Yeah, it was
funny because I would always see like Nibel tweet it, and then it would be Wario, and then it would be Dave Amaz, and like there was always like a certain cascade of like who saw Nibel's tweet first. Sometimes I wondered if people just had it on fucking auto retweet. It was just there was just bot running, waiting for it to happen.
I believe it. I definitely believe it. Other news. I don't really know what there really isn't much. Netflix acquired
Spry Fox.
So that's a thing. But actually there was one other thing, and that's EA has they have a deal with Marvel. Disney produced 3 total Marvel games. One is the Iron Man game.
Yeah.
They got 2 others in the works.
Yeah, 3 games gonna take 10 years for them to come out. It's gonna be great.
I can't wait for them to completely miss any and all hype surrounding any of the other products.
They're gonna come out with games for characters whose movies have the movie line has ended. They're come out in like 2027. They're gonna have a Thor game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally how many years past? Tony, the current MCU Tony Stark no longer being a part of it, and then EA's like, we fucking got him. We got him. We got the Iron Man, baby. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder. Like, okay, what do we got? Who's the other 2? Thor, probably, right?
Thor was Black Panther the rumor?
Yeah, isn't it Black Panther?
But I thought, but wasn't it Black Panther and Captain America? That World War II game?
But Grubb said that there was actually a separate Black Panther game being worked on by EA.
Yeah, there's 2 of them for whatever reason.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna guess. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on any game like an ensemble style Marvel game.
Ooh. Like the Avengers? That'd be cool. It'd be cool to have an Avengers game.
Yeah, what if it was an Avengers game?
Maybe it's a new Avengers. Maybe it's Young Avengers. Maybe it's
Ultimate Alliance 4.
Don't you dare! Ultimate Alliance 3 ripped ass.
I
so
fucking
good.
love that game. I
love that game. I'm considering picking it back up because it's that good.
Ripped ass. I like that.
Ripped
I don't know if that's the perfect description, but all
I
right.
have no idea. I'm so tired. I had my flu shot today, and I've been handing out candy all evening. good stuff. I think that's basically it. News-wise, there really isn't anything. I'm like rolling through there. There's a Ragnarok Street Date's broken, but whatever. And that's
I've seen
check
it.
Nibel's
yeah,
check Nibel's Twitter feed, see if there's any news.
yeah, if there's anything new. Nothing.
Do you cheat, Zach? Were you one of the 1.3 million or whatever that watched the fight scene?
Yeah.
Coward.
Of course he is. I expect Zach to be, if he hears about something, he's gonna be the first mention. What if it's X-Men? Oh, that's a great point, Playland. I mean, they are. I think in X-Men, we haven't had an X-Men game. I mean, Wolverine is coming out, obviously, and
right.
they're kind of pivotal in.
I mean,
the
listen,
Ultimate Alliance, but it'll be a good time.
Listen, it's EA. They'll want a co-op game of some sort.
Battlefield Avengers.
Yeah, there hasn't been a Fantastic Four game of any real importance like ever. So I mean,
yeah, that's because they're boring.
You can't really make a game out of them. There's only like 2 of them that do anything. 3, sorry. The other one just turned.
Just let them be part of Marvel. Just let them be part of Marvel Ultimate Alliance and admit that you cannot make a good game out of the Fantastic Four. Sorry.
I think you could. I think you could. You get some sort of like alternate universe bullshit going on. You can get some fun stuff.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we'll make the Fantastic Four interesting by changing all of the characters inherently by using an alternate universe.
No, I mean them traveling.
Michael B. Jordan.
That's all they ever do is travel into alternate realities. I mean, that's the entire core of the theme. So,
but how do you make the invisible lady interesting to play as?
Make her visible.
Because the invisibility thing has become less important over the years, and it just Sue just has a lot of telekinetic shit going on now. She's sort of like a buff now. She's Shield. She's Mercy of the Fantastic Four at this point.
She's like Ellen Page and beyond.
I'll say this. If the Fantastic Four were a cool or good or interesting superhero team, then I would be all for it. But they're none of those. So let's move on.
The most interesting thing about Fantastic Four is Dr. Doom.
That's true, actually. Doctor.
None of you motherfuckers have been reading or enjoying Fantastic Four anything for.
Didn't they stop publishing it?
I'm waiting for it to get good again, JJ.
You would have no idea. You would have no idea if they're good or not.
Just waiting.
We'll have to do another JJ comic cast one of these days.
Yeah, we can do the box.
Just make sure you let me know ahead of time.
Yeah, I'll let myself know ahead of time. Just riffing with JJ about comics. No, let's get into we got a couple things that we're going to do the rest of the show. We're going to talk about the games that we're playing because we have been playing a few things here, and there's some stuff we can't talk about. JJ was getting me very hyped up about something that I had pre-ordered. He's reviewing.
I can. It says I can't share videos or review scores, so I can at least say what it is.
You can talk about it. Yeah.
And then
video game.
It's a video game. And we'll also go over our scariest gaming moments that I had. That was a question of the week, question of the month, whatever. But let's go into games that we're playing. Who would like to start?
Me. I'll go first.
Okay, that's why I was pointing to you. Go ahead.
So I haven't. I mean, I've been playing a lot, but you don't want to hear about that. You just want to hear about these 2 other games.
Yes,
I'm playing.
Short and sweet, baby.
Yeah, so Signalis. Yeah, it's a really good horror game. It's in the vein of like Silent Hill 1, Resident Evil 1, that kind of thing. But it's I don't know. It's a really interesting nihilistic game. It's very German. So if you're familiar with German fiction and just them in general, is very nihilistic and dark. But what's cool about this game is it's kind of hard to explain, but the gist of it is you're a cyborg, a military cyborg on a base, and you go off and you crash land, and then you get off your ship after indeterminate amount of time. You're in cryosleep, you get off your ship, and you find a hole. You go down into the hole, and then you get transported into this different dimension, Silent Hill type thing. So it's a really classical survival horror, but the way it twists it with really interesting lore in the world, and the idea of like, how would these programmable military robots face a Lovecraftian horror? Like, how would they process that? So that's just really interesting. It has a cool mechanic where you have to tune radio waves like that. You tune these radio waves and you can find certain spots in the world and unlock certain things. It requires a lot out of you. It requires a lot of thinking because it's a puzzle game. That's just kind of how survival horror games are. But yeah, it's really good. It uses a lot of mixed perspectives that I like. It goes into first person like this, or you're most likely in third person, like not third person, but like, I don't know what it's called, top down,
isometric.
Yeah, isometric. So yeah, it's really good. I don't think it's super scary, but it has all the like aesthetic things that I like in fiction. It's very you could say it's full of itself because it's kind of like artsy fartsy kind of, but yeah, it's super good.
I would say it just more like knows what it is.
Yeah,
but like it exudes confidence in exactly what style that they've had, but that sometimes that can come across as like hoity-toity at the same time because of it.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff that I like. That's why I like Kojima games, because he's like, this is what I am and this is what you're gonna get, and I like that. That's why I like Yoko Taro and people like that, because they're confident. And this coming from some indie dev team from Germany is really impressive. It's super cool. It's really short, like 7 hours, which is good for a horror game.
Yeah, that's a sweet spot. Thank you.
And it has multiple endings. People are still trying to discover the real ending to the game, which is cool. People have been like, oh, well, I did this differently this time and I got this ending, or I used this item here instead of this item. It's like, yeah, so it's pretty cool. Definitely play it. It's on Game Pass. Yeah.
Which basically is free.
Yeah, and yeah, I sent a screenshot in the Discord. It's like the king in yellow. It's kind of like this, I don't know, I guess like a trope in like Lovecraftian horror, like the king and
because it's brought up in Lovecraft stories too. It's it's definitely part of the Cthulhu mythos.
Yeah, it's also True Detective season 1, very heavy in there. But yeah, it has that kind of vibe. It's very and it's an introspective philosophical game, which is cool.
Very cool.
Yeah,
a lot of people are talking about it.
The other game is Grounded. That game's super good. Taylor and I played it last night for like 3 hours. I don't know.
At least
that game has come a long way.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I wouldn't know because Zach and I played for 3 hours and played, I think, like 1/8 of what was in the original like pre-release. So, not sure, but yeah, I mean, like that. I don't know. It's solid. That's a good game. It's also the only thing that I've been playing, so I'll just shift over.
Take over.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've been playing. Good talk.
All right, nice.
No, it's super cool to play this. I think what's really interesting about this game is how it has a pretty focused story for what it is. Like it's like a survival game, but it has a focused story. It has designated characters. Like your two characters talk to each other about things, and it's like, and sometimes they're really funny, sometimes they're really like cringe because they're like kids, but it's like it's really interesting how they're able to build out this like lore in this world by you discovering like, oh, here's this big juice box, and it's this cartoon the kids watch, and they talk about the lore in the cartoon, and like, oh, I've read the books but you watch the show, like this is the difference that happened here in this fight with blah blah blah. It's like really just fun stuff, but just the scale is so impressive. The scale and the lighting is just like it really just nails
the lighting and depth of field on camera do the game a lot of good. It's quite impressive visually. in that way. It's weird where sometimes you shift the camera and it will pull things in and out of focus. It's the only way that you can kind of break that illusion in kind of a way. But I mean, it still obviously works. Zach and I have not done any of this part where you build an actual base. No fucking clue. No fucking idea. We put up like a tent so that we could go to sleep, and then we found. So this is where I'm about to go into a story where that kind of illustrates the true appeal and power of Grounded to me, and games like this. So Zach and I find the kind of first major story point for Grounded, which is in like this facility. I don't want to say too much, but anyway, so we go through the facility. We kind of see what there is to see, and then we're exploring. Zach's like, "Oh, this leads out. Oh, it leads to water." And I have this torch made out of the fungus spores or something that actually works underwater. So I pull that out. We're diving. We got like 30 seconds of air left. Like, oh, I think this is the way out. Boom, underwater fucking spider. And we die instantly. And that's what those are the moments, especially when you're playing with other people that love the game. We're just yelling at each other as we get sworn, and we just like one shot by this diving bell spider, and yeah, I don't know. It's good. This is one of those things where it's so hard to make a trailer for a game like this because you're focusing on all of these kind of story elements, and what makes the game interesting is just being there and walking through it and seeing it from that scale. Pulling all of these trailers out to third person almost removes a lot of what makes it so impressive, which is realizing the scope of where you are in the game. And this pulls it out of it a little bit.
Also, I think what's also pretty cool about it is there's a bunch of build variety that you can do with your characters, which is really fun. Like, I'm a tank. Like, I built a acorn armor, so like I can tank stuff easier. Taylor,
it attracts the enemies.
Yeah, I attract the baddies, and then Taylor has this ant armor that allows him to carry more, and he has a bow and arrow, and I have a fang sword that poisons, and so it's like that's just really fun. Be like, okay, I'm gonna be the tank, you're gonna be this guy that can carry things, and we're just kind of going through and just like finding things we've never like thought of grabbing before. Like there are these thistles we were trying to find so we can make these arrows for his bow, and we had to climb up a plant and pull thistles off, and I was like, I would never have thought of doing that, but the game does such a good way of making like the natural layout feel like it's
like this specific plant's different than all the other plants. Like the leaves are specifically tiered that encourages you to jump up, and it just draws you in. It's very, very smart.
It's great. It's a game I just want to go and explore more and like build a base and like actually like tier up so we can like fight these bugs because they just destroy us every time we try and fight.
In order to kind of like level up some of the harvesting tools, we had to kill a ladybug, and we had just kind of geared up a little bit, so to speak. And we're like, all right, should we take on spiders or should we try and fight the ladybug? And we're like, all right, let's fight the ladybug. And Zach literally had just put on all of that tanking gear that he had just talked about. And we walk up, he has a ladybug. And the ladybug turns around and literally kills him instantly. One shot. And then 5 minutes later, it turns to... Life, yeah, just like in real life. 5 minutes later, we're like, okay, it turns into night. And we're like, well, let's abandon the ladybug. There's no way. And we're going off into the different area, and there's 3 bombardier beetles, which are they can use ranged attacks, and there's a ladybug sleeping. And the bombardier beetles throw out AoE, and so sometimes they can like cross aggro other bugs. And I'm like, all right, Zach, I got an idea. Let's hit the ladybug, let's hit the bombardier beetles, and let's see what happens. And sure enough, I mean, we both died, but the ladybug died first, and that was all that mattered.
Yeah, because there's a spider around the corner.
And then a wolf spider showed up and killed both of us. Yeah, it's a good game. Like those are like, especially with co-op, it's so good. Like those moments just like keep happening.
Yeah, and we haven't even touched building a base. Like that's like
we
another
haven't even
core
done that.
mechanic of the game. Also, another thing I just want to say, I brought this up last night when we were playing, but the verbiage the game uses is very just weird. Like to throw something is called hucking it. So it's like huck, press R to huck. It's like, okay, so you're like throwing stuff.
Very childlike.
Yeah, it's very it's just like that's what makes it different than all the other games. Just like the way it's very stylistic with its words.
It's stylistic, but it feels genuine. It doesn't just sound like, why are we using the word huck? It's like, oh, they're using the word huck. Like it feels normal, but still pointed.
Yeah,
I like that it clearly understands that everyone thinks of it as the Honey I Shrunk the Kids game. Like, I saw that I'm assuming it's the dad where it was Dr. Tully in the thing.
Don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Which is definitely I mean, that's Rick Moranis' character in Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming that's the joke, that it's because he's also the dad in Honey I Shrunk the Kids. So.
The real story hook is like there's kids being kidnapped in this city and nobody knows where they are, and you're being shrunk down, turned into action figures and like thrown in a yard. That's kind of like the story hook. But there's like other kids who have like supposedly been killed in this process. So, and you're going around picking up cassette tapes and learning from this scientist about things that he's doing. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I just wanted to know more, but it's just also hard to like kind of tear up. But that's just because it's a survival game. That's just kind of how it is.
That's just how it is.
Grinded it out. So yeah.
I'm trying to think if I played anything else. Hold on, let me pull up Steam. Nope. Yeah, I was away this weekend, brought my Steam Deck. I was like, all right, here it is. I got plans. No, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I maybe got like one more hour into Persona 5. But I was sorry, Zach and I were going back and forth on, Xbox added the time to complete. And so we're like going through about time to complete, and Persona 5 is like, it's 120 hours base. That's pretty good. Oh, you're playing Persona 5? It's going to take you 100 plus hours, dog. Have fun.
That's Xenoblade levels right there. Yep.
Even if you skip cutscenes in Persona 5, it's like 90 hours. So, yeah.
It's a Persona game, so there's a bunch of cutscenes. But yeah, I don't know. I don't got nothing else.
If you guys want to hear about me talk about World of Warcraft, we can keep.
You've been leveling up?
I've been leveling up. That's kind of it. It's pre
classic or
I'm playing retail. The new expansion comes out in a couple of weeks. Okay. I don't have a job.
Should have talked about that during the news.
Right.
It's not worth it.
All right.
Well, all right. Next.
I'll talk a little bit, real brief. More Mario and Rabbids. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Taylor. I pack up my stuff, get ready to do things, and then life just throws that curveball at you. And this week,
it's nuts.
It was just, I was like, oh, cool. Finally, I was just crunching on a project all week. Finally got to the weekend where I no longer have this heavy project over me. I'm like, all right, cool. Now I can get back to enjoying and gaming. And instead of enjoying and gaming, I was editing videos for all you schmucks. So slowly getting those up. Yeah. But finally, sorry, my bad. I did play more of Mario and Rabbids, and that game is just, the changes they've made. The longer I play the game, the more I find out about the changes they made. So much more of an open world style game this time. Is anybody else besides me playing it?
No, just you, buddy.
Just me. It's much more of an open world, traditional 3D Mario-ish take on this, where the last one was more Mario, let's say Mario 3D World, where you're kind of walking along paths to get to certain things, kind of a more of a overworld map. This is an actual overworld where you're running around. the main overworld of the game and doing shit and engaging in enemies, and you don't have to engage with enemies and everybody. It's just really well done. Really enjoying the heck out of it. Love playing the battles there. So yeah, still plowing through that. And Bayo 3, I hopped into Bayonetta 3, so I have my regular copy of Bayonetta 3, and I also bought this beautiful bad boy Bayonetta 3. Did you guys get this as well? Anybody else besides me get it?
I actually have it. I haven't played it though. So
Yeah.
So Bayonetta 3, man, it's so good. I've only got like 2.5 hours, 3 hours total. Again, because of this whole life thing. But in that time, I'm noticing the differences in this game initially from the last game. So I had to go back and try to remember Bayonetta 2. Luckily, I still have it for the Wii U, so I kind of popped it on real quick just to sort of remember what the game was like.
Her hair is shorter.
Yeah, the hair shorter. But in this case, like between Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2, playing stuff and shit, stuff and things. Between Bayonetta 2, they didn't do a whole ton in terms of like battles. Like it was pretty cut and dry. It was more of an evolution with better visuals, better plot, blah blah blah. Bayonetta 3, way more combo based. They've really kind of worked on the gameplay. Just what I'm noticing right now, some of the battle and gameplay stuff. Haven't really gotten into the kaiju shit right away, so I'm looking forward to that. But like 2 or 3 hours into the game, I'm enjoying the visuals a lot. There were a couple areas. It is on a 7-year-old console, however old the Switch is. So there is some stutter here and there and frame rate issues, but it is a gorgeous looking game. I'm playing it mostly in handheld. I did pop it on the big screen, and it looks great on the big screen. I may actually play more on the big screen now because of how good it looks on there. But yeah, it's if you have a Nintendo console right now, it is good eating in terms of the stuff that's out there. And you got Pokemon, the Pokemon's coming, which is a great Pokemon apart from those issues, the frame rate issues. But yeah, it's both those games are great. Mario and Bayonetta, great stuff. Can't recommend it more. You have to pick it. If you own a Switch, it's recommended. No, I'm sorry. It is.
You've lost it. You lost the bit.
Next.
If you own a Switch, pick up the BDSM witch lady.
Let's go to JJ.
I'm playing a lot of shit, honestly, but thanks to Sam, I did pick up Metal Gear Survive.
Oh my god!
It's right.
You fell for it. You fell for it.
I fell for it. It is. It's not bad.
It's weird how the game can feel good to play because it feels good to play, but it just sucks to play. Like,
I know it's so funny. I was just like, all right, it's $6. I got $6. Let's do this.
But this is right after Sam was saying, he bought it for like 20 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
it was gonna be, and it was.
Yeah. I did pick up the Garbage Pail Kids game that just dropped.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I honestly don't know if the lore behind this game is legitimate or not. I feel like it's a goof, but I never really bothered looking into the fact of, was this game canceled for the NES? I don't know.
It wasn't. For everything I've read about it was it's a modern game that the whole selling point was they want to make it sound
like too gross for the Nintendo.
Yeah, it's too gross for the NES. And it certainly feels like somebody crafting the perfect like NES game in terms of like all of the sort of stuff, all the bullshit you'd expect from an old NES game, especially an old licensed NES game. It looks great. It plays. It's got an interesting sort of gameplay conceit where it's your typical just sort of platforming ish game, but there's like a card trading mechanic in it, and
that's cool.
And like your powers are dependent on what Garbage Pail Kids you have. So some of them are, it's like, oh, this one vomits, this one has swords, this one rolls into a ball and bounces around and stuff.
Mike.
Yeah, it's a charming little game, and it's definitely worth like the $8 if this is the type of game. It is an NES game. It's not doing anything that an NES game couldn't do, because they are releasing this on hardware. You can pick up an NES.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. I am 8-bit will be putting out a limited run of these on NES carts. So yeah, there's nothing different about it in terms of what an NES could do. So it's cool from that. It's cool from that angle. I don't know. There's not much to talk about with it. It's an old NES game made today, based off of it's the perfect way to do a Garbage Pail Kids game. Just like this retro aesthetic. If you're gonna tap into that nostalgia that the Garbage Pail Kids taps into, then this is the only way you could successfully do it, and they pulled it off great. That's all I have to say with that one. And I've started
I need to rewatch the Garbage Pail Kids movie. Is what I need.
Don't, man, don't. I did start playing the Village, the Resident Evil Village DLC.
Okay.
Came out. The Shadows of Rose is only about like a 3.5 hour campaign, so I'm about half
Resident Evil DLC.
Yeah, so I'm about halfway through it. It's really good. It's like surprising. It's gross. It all revolves around like living ooze. It's something else.
And your dad spawns in ammo for you.
Yeah, they haven't. Listen, they haven't at all said that it's your dad, but from like second one, you're like, I know this is Ethan. Like, you're not fooling me. Like, who do you think I am? I know who this is Ethan.
And then he just spawns in some ammo.
Yeah, you're just sitting there and you're having like do you like a ghostwriter-esque conversations with him, like he's writing shit on the wall and you reply back to him, and it just like he's like, okay, well, here you go, and like whoop, a little like first aid bottle will pop up, or like an herb will like materialize, and like and he'll like lead you like, oh, you have to go this way, stuff like that. But I am I'm at the haunted house section again because they reuse all the stuff, and I'm terrified of it because it's not the same haunted house. It's not the gross baby fetus thing. It's a completely different. It's a completely different situation. Yeah, it's a completely different situation going on right now, and it scared the shit out of me, so I stopped playing it for a bit. So, but the real thing, the thing that I got the review code for that I had finally finished, that is a genuinely amazing game, is The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow. It's a new independent point and click folk horror game.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
It's the aesthetics of it is gorgeous. Like the pixel graphics for the main game, and then the cutscenes. Every cutscene is incredible in this game. Because it does this weird rotoscoping kind of like old PC thing that is absolutely stunning. And there's a constant, if you go to my Twitter feed right now, one of my most recent tweets is a screenshot from towards the end of the game of one of the cutscenes, and you can immediately understand why I think this is extremely my shit. You are Thomasina. Oh yeah, what you got?
JJ, have you seen Faith, the Unholy Trinity stuff? Have you seen anything from?
I started playing it. You got me the code, and I've started absolutely playing that. Yeah, it's yeah, look at that fucking cat.
Look at that cat.
It's so you are an antiquities sort of writer, and
this reminds me of the Sierra Online games. Oh my lord.
This is 100%. It is 100% like King's Quest and shit like that. Except it is 100% a Lovecraftian tale. It's told from her perspective as if she's writing a journal, kind of thing, and she's trying to solve they are. That's a lot of end game stuff going on in some of this. But yeah,
nice.
That's a priest vomiting. One of the first things you do is like you meet this priest and he vomits, and you have to help him by picking up his broken glasses and bloodletting him. Like this, it is so well crafted, and it is 100% a Lovecraftian tale,
Hmm.
straight through to the ending. It is like if Lovecraft stories are something that you love and appreciate, then this is definitely an adventure game for you to play. You find yourself in this weird little town of Bewley. It's very like Twin Peaks, where everyone's kind of weird, but not like crazy. So it's just like a small little town where everyone's sort of pretending they don't know about Hobbs Barrow, which you're coming to like excavate because there's a secret in it that is going to help your father. Your father was also like an excavation guy.
This reminds me of Pathologic. I don't know if you guys have played
Yeah,
Pathologic.
yeah.
That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, there's definitely a Pathologic vibe to it, but it checks a lot of boxes for me. I love point and click adventures, especially those old Sierra point and click adventure games. And this
looks like those late 80s, like 88, 89, where
yeah, especially like they it's just like the animal faces, the close-ups, and like I don't know, it's just like the way that they move.
Yeah, and it's got some it's got some genuinely like body horror stuff going on, and some very like creepy like visuals.
I don't know, any zoom in on eyes like that always gets me, man.
Yeah, it's I don't, there's not a lot you can talk about story-wise of this game without absolutely start blowing a lot of sort of the story, the pacing and storytelling of it, but it's about 4 hours long.
Oh, perfect. All right.
It is a sweet length for this kind of game.
Yep.
It's a tight story. It doesn't have multiple endings or anything. It's just got the one thing going on. But it's got all of the point and click tropes, and it's got a lot of the old folk horror tropes. And it's Victorian England.
Just slap him there?
You get a choice when you meet him because he starts hitting on you, and he's a drunkard. And
punch the journalist.
So you get your choice if you want to slap the guy or just take the higher round.
Look at that. Wow.
Guys, I remembered I played a game I need to talk about. Actually.
Oh. Well,
if you're done,
I think I'm done. I highly recommend the excavation of Hobbs Barrow. It is as a person that's currently playing Monkey Island right now as well, I think I just kind of appreciated this one more for how tight it is. It's 4 hours. It has a great aesthetic and a very creepy, unsettling story that I was captivated by from start to finish. It really just kind of pulls you in, especially with its aesthetics. So yeah, it's quickly up on my list of games of the year, honestly. Wow. Yeah. So Zach, you had something else you thought about?
Yeah, I forgot. I played Scorn. I don't know if that's good or not. I forgot about it, but
I played Scorn too.
Didn't you guys already talk about this in the past?
I talked about Scorn.
Yeah. You talked about Scorn. All right.
I wasn't here. Yeah, that first like puzzle is really rough, but for different reasons, not because it's hard. It's kind of hard to figure out at first, but whenever you have like that fresh body drop out and it's screaming, you're like impaling it and like chopping it up and moving. It was a lot for me. And that's kind of hard. That's like, it's hard to make me feel that, but it's a game I actually just stopped playing. So
really?
Yeah. Cause I was like, I can't do this right now. I'm not in the right space. It was a lot for me. It was like I felt horrible.
It was a really weird puzzle to like kick the game off with, because like the whole aesthetic is pretty fucked up overall, and then they're like, all right, but what if you have to take this thing that's clearly alive and continuously make it worse? And that's like the thing that you do first.
Yeah.
It's an artistic statement. I think I know what they're saying with it.
Yeah, there he is, my boy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, I'm okay with not playing it. That's just kind of where I'm like at.
Are you gonna
Which,
watch like a quick? Are you gonna watch a quick playthrough to see how it ends, or is it like not even worth it to you?
I think I'm just okay with knowing what it looks like. You know, I'm like, okay, this game's cool. It looks like that. But like,
I've gone too far where I have to either finish it myself or I have to see somebody else finish it.
yeah,
I have to know what
You were
the
really
conclusion
excited for
is.
this game too, right, Zach?
yeah, I was really excited for the game. But the first, like, it's not like it's a bad game. It's just really just like, I don't know. It's like I don't want to do this. So,
It's very visceral.
yeah.
Visceral.
It's hard to make me feel that way. But it just like it really latched into some place in my brain that's just like I felt like I was doing something wrong.
Okay.
So yeah, I just kind of like pieced out and said, "This is cool. Like I get what you're doing here, but I can't do this." But I know that the last boss of the game, you just kind of like strafe around it and shoot it. So knowing that makes me not want to play it too. So, yeah, I guess now we have to talk about talk about our scariest game moments that surprisingly
Well,
isn't
right
scoring for
before
me.
we get to that, I did want to talk about Barbarian real quick.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about a little about it. So it's a movie. It's on HBO. It was in theaters, I think, at some
I
point.
saw it in
September.
theaters.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
So it's set. I'll give you a quick background, Taylor, that we can understand. It's set in.
Yeah, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's set in sort of one of the outskirts neighborhoods of Detroit, my hometown, which I can see it. There it is, right there. One of the sort of the neighborhoods of Detroit that's it's gone downhill over the years. The population's kind of leaving. It had peaked in like the 70s and 80s, and since then it had just population left. Anyways, rundown neighborhood. This lady gets this young woman gets a Airbnb there. She's there for an interview. She gets Airbnb at this house and finds out that somebody else had also Airbnb'd or had whatever the other tool they use at the same time. And one thing leads to another. They find that some stuff starts to
one
happen.
thing leads to another in this movie.
Yada yada yada. She
Yada
wanders off into the sunset.
There-
No, so okay, let me explain it.
That's the premise. Stuff happens.
So so she goes to this house.
I think what needs to be explained out the gate is that the advertising for this movie existed solely around the setup that Dali expressed here.
Yes,
where the advertising, every trailer showed, all they showed was her going to an Airbnb and a guy being there and offering like, well, you can stay here. So you're expecting it. The setup makes it seem like it's going to be your typical thriller movie.
Yeah.
With
So
creepy guy.
Here's me. I went to this movie not knowing anything, just hearing from people, hey, you're going to like this movie. Watch it, please. Okay. I finally lay down and watch it. And yeah, it's like, okay, this guy's really creepy. Okay, cool. What's happening? I don't know what's happening. Okay, there's a secret door in the basement, right? It's kind of spooky. What's okay? Oh, there's a torture like a chamber room.
You don't want to get too deep into the plot, ruining the plot.
That's spooky. And then it just turns into a different movie.
Act one ends on a cliffhanger, and it turns into a completely separate Justin Long starring Hollywood satire film. It feels like you fell asleep and woke up in a different movie. It takes a very, very long time for this second act to catch up to the first act.
But by long time, it's about 20 to 25 minutes, which seems very long in this because of the set.
Yeah, each act is about a half an hour. It's a 90-minute movie, and each act's about a half an hour. By the time you get to the third act, the wheels have fallen off the wagon.
The third act kicks off in a really weird way too.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
it kicks off as a completely different movie again.
Yes,
but at least it feels connected to the first act. And then that's the connective tissue, and then things just get. Then the third act of the movie is absolutely like unhinged.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. But
it's a really interesting like take on like a modern monster myth
Yeah.
kind of thing, and it takes kind of the things that are in the id of the United States right now, like true crime type of things, and makes that kind of serial killer mythos into a monster movie type thing. That's the best way I can describe it without spoiling it.
Yeah.
And
it does absolutely nothing to explain itself at any point.
It's really good.
I'll just say this: it's definitely a Targaryen movie.
Yeah, it's if that means it's good, then I agree.
You gotta watch Game of Thrones. House of the Dragon. But yeah, it the more you watch it, the more you realize, oh, this, yeah, exactly. It's a modern style, monster-ish psycho thriller film, but you don't even need to take that far of a step back to realize, oh, this is the commentary that they're trying to make, and there's a reason why there are so many layers to this story, because and then you get to the point you're like, even like the heroic point in the movie is like, wow, I get it. Yeah.
It's
like
very it does horror well. Like I think what makes a horror movie good is when it can be funny because of how absurd it is. Like that's like what I love watching a horror movie and laughing. Like oh, this is so like bizarre. And this movie made me literally laugh my ass off for like 5 minutes straight whenever things were just expanding and getting bigger and bigger. People have seen it, know what I'm talking about. It's just like, what the, like, it's just like, I just kept laughing. I was just losing my mind, and they're showing you things like, what, like, oh, I just kept going. Like but then also it's pretty scary. It's scary too, which is like,
and I'll just kind of end it with my portion by saying there's a part of this movie which is definitely that, I think it's an insurance commercial where they say, let's go hide behind the chainsaws.
Yeah.
It's definitely a let's go hide behind the chainsaws type of movie, purposefully. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I definitely enjoyed it, and I respect it for what it's trying to do. And I do recommend seeing it. If you got HBO, check it out.
Yeah, it's also directed by one of the founders of The Whitest Kids You Know, so you kind of so expect knowing that going in, you can kind of expect what
Yep. Okay. Speaking of scary things, let's get into some of the scariest moments that we know from game. It is Halloween. Ooh. And we've been going for 53 minutes, so we're going to try to see if we can get into the witching hour here and talk about some of the scariest games or gaming moments that we've come across. So that can be, now it could be anything, right? Because obviously games have been around for a long time. We have modern horror, Scorn. We just kind of talked a little about Scorn. Hobbs Barrow certainly seemed to have some type of tension in there.
Yeah, I just did talk about how I turned off a game because it was upset and making me
Bless
too
you,
scared.
Taylor. My son. Yeah. But yeah, so fear can be anything. Terror can be anything in games. I don't know if I've personally felt like incredible terror or anything in a game. I know for me, when it comes to games, there's like whenever there's like like you can feel thick air tension. That to me is what gets my blood kind of moving in a different way.
I didn't play Silent Hill 2 for like 6 years because it made me too anxious and scared to play.
Nice.
And I
started sweating.
I needed to be an older person till I could appreciate and enjoy Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 really fucking works.
On that track, so that's where I'm going to start off with mine. I'll kind of throw my 3 down there. And I've never played Silent Hill 2. I've never played a Silent Hill game, even though I have shattered memories, whatever is staring at me, the Wii game. PT is up there because
it's terrifying. Yeah,
PT, and what I think PT does so well. This is the Koji game that the last game for Konami. when he was remaking Silent Hill. What that game does so well, it's weirdly a roguelike in a way, because you're constantly going through this house over and over and over again, kind of reliving it, and exploring more things. But what it does really well is that it's all about the things you don't see and the stuff that you're expecting to happen. Like, you're expecting a jump scare, but there's no jump scare there, and that's kind of that builds on that tension even more. To me, that is
that's what's so good about Silent Hill as a whole.
Okay.
Is that a lot of scary stuff in Silent Hill is the subtext, is the backstory.
No, there's this room in Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 does this stuff really well, where you just go into your room. There's man-made horrors beyond your comprehension there, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like there's just one room that I just thought about that gave me goosebumps. You walk in there, there's a literal guillotine just in the middle of the room. It's dark. There's nothing there, but you hear a thing moving around and getting closer, kind of just like going back and forth. And it sounds like a horse. There's like heavy breathing. And you're just kind of standing there like, what's going to happen? Nothing happens ever. Yeah. It's just a sound. And
that's what
the scariest thing.
That shit is what stopped. That shit is what stopped me from playing Silent Hill 2 originally. Was its sound design is upsetting.
Yeah,
you were constantly hearing things that mean nothing, but make you feel like it's about something bad is about to sincerely happen. And I used to not be able to handle being on the edge of my seat at all waking minutes of enjoying something. Nowadays, I'm much better at dealing with that stuff. But well, see you, Taylor.
Too afraid.
Yeah, got too spooky for him in here.
Yeah, but Playland brings it up. You know, he mentions it. To me, it was a Silent Hill demo at the school that had children and all the uncensored stuff that did not come into that final version, and you kind of go in blind that way. So
yeah. Like, so I used to really not be able to play horror games. I used to not like horror, period, for a long time in my life. But 5-6 years ago was where I just really eased into it. Like, I just started to love horror and love the macabre and stuff. But like, horror games don't really affect me how they should. Like, I don't get jump scared. Like, I'm playing a horror game, I know I'm gonna get scared. Like, so the jump scares is completely gone. Like, but what gets me are things like in PT or things like in Silent Hill, where it's like in PT when you're just walking around and you decide, I'm gonna look up, just see what's up. Oh, there's a thing. Like, that's what's scary. It's not like that's the stuff that a jump scare is cheap. It doesn't work for me, but that's why it's like Silent Hill. There's a game called Deadwood that does horror pretty well too. It's a indie game. It's super good. It does like sound design. I think sound design is probably the most important thing in a horror game.
Really is. And that's where I was going to jump into, also bringing up Dead Space. Now, Dead Space isn't necessarily, it's jump scares. There's jump scares galore in Dead Space.
The first one is genuinely pretty. It creates a really good atmosphere.
And it's tight, and a lot of that dark. It's tight, it's dark, and the sound design in the original Dead Space, I felt was right there. I mean, it's visual, and they're remaking the game now, and I'm so interested in trying to see how they incorporate that sound design, because there was that
they're gonna lose it.
They're gonna lose it. That tension was so well done,
No, there's a specific like audio line I have from Isaac in my head. Like, when he's screaming, there's like a really intense, muffled, tinny sounding, like the way they mixed his voice when he's screaming is like so good. Like, when you're stomping on things, because that's a core thing you have to do, is stomp on the bad guys. When you're stomping and he's screaming and yelling while he's doing it, because they're humans, it's that muffled, like metal sounding voice that he has. I don't think they're going to be able to.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be tough.
No, they're gonna fuck.
As much as I want to believe.
Yeah.
In terms of jump scares, I do have to say, I still think the Resident Evil dog jump scares.
I was gonna bring that one up too. That dog,
but on two separate ways, because like originally that was a really good jump scare in the original form, and the way they fucked with you in the remake, by having the window kind of crack when you like where it originally would have happened, and then having the jump scare happen later in the game than it did originally was a really like playing with that perception was really smart of them in the remake of Resident Evil. I thought it's one of the most iconic jump scares of all time.
I think when you bring up Resident Evil, I was almost going to, as an honorable mention, talk about Resident Evil 7 in VR, because that is whoa, and it's not the it's not the jump scares in this Resident Evil. It's being chased around this house and hearing them. I want to play Resident Evil 7 VR with full 3D audio, so that I'm genuinely terrified running around this house. Yes, VR too, baby.
Limiting your field of vision, especially in the VR scenario, is really changes the atmosphere of any horror game, but in particular Resident Evil 7. You're just strictly focused on what's in front of you, and there was some rough shit going on in that game. That really like there were if you hooked up one of those like heart rate monitors like all the VTubers are doing these days, it would have been you would have been worried for my well-being.
Yep. Zach, what games do you got? What are you?
Okay, so I'm just gonna bring up mine. So
Garbage Pail Kids. No, just kidding.
Genuinely, the scariest game I have ever played. It's not Silent Hill 2. It's not Scorn. It's a anime visual novel called Doki Literature Club. It's
really?
It's
me and Zach spent the better part of an evening talking about how great of a horror game Doki Doki Literature Club.
So we can't preface it that we can't go too deep into it, right? Because like already talking about it in this context for somebody who hasn't played it, already changes the outlook. At the same time, like there's no way that Dali was going to go out see Doki Doki Literature Club show up and be like, oh, yeah, that's a game that I'm interested in playing in any scenario, right? However, in this context, maybe he does.
So this game is a subversive piece of art. It's a really interesting, I don't even know how to describe it. But it's kind of, you start out, you're a anime boy who goes to school, transfer student, meet these cute girls. Something's wrong.
Every trope in the book is being played out here.
The game slowly starts to unravel at the seams. Things start to look kind of strange on the PC. It starts to change files on your computer.
Yeah, if you play this game, play the PC version, because you definitely lose a bit of something playing it on on a Switch or something.
Yeah. So the game smartly puts you in a routine. Since it's a visual novel, it's a pretty railroaded experience. There's a lot of games like this that aren't a railroaded experience, but most of them are. But what it does is it lulls you into a sense of like safety, and then eventually you click, and then the next screen is disgusting, vile, blood and gore, whatever. And eventually it turns into kind of like a HAL 2001 Space Odyssey situation with the computer. It's really interesting. But yeah, it's a game that I've played one time, and I remember almost everything about it, and it's deep in my brain. It has its own spot in my brain, and it's just an interesting piece of fiction. It's an interesting video game. It was free when it came out. I just randomly played it because it was free. I had no clue. No one knew what it was, and I was like, it literally fried my brain.
It's a once in a lifetime kind of thing, and nobody has ever successfully pulled off the thing that this game does, and that's release a piece of fiction that is secret horror. Like, people want to do that. You know, we were just talking about Barbarian, where it's sort of a secret horror movie in a different way. Well, you knew you were getting a horror movie going in. You can't just surprise people with horror in movies or even books or something. It just doesn't work that way. Nobody's going to play. But in video games, where you just have this small little independent thing that just kind of comes out of nowhere, is free, and word of mouth alone was more than enough to make this. And people really committed to the bit. Like, people really kept their mouth shut about Doki Doki Literature Club. Even to this day, if you buy a piece of Doki Doki Literature Club merch, it still treats it as if it's just a visual novel, a traditional visual novel. It's all like the collector's edition just has cutesy little stuff that you would expect to get, like acrylic figures and stationery and stuff. But like, it's constantly, but like the only sort of giveaway is sort of, it is rated M for mature, for like gore and shit. Like, you know, so.
So my experience of finding this game is just like a random happenstance. So there's a streamer named Trihex. He's a Yoshi Story speedrunner, and now he's a pretty big name. And where's that sound coming from? That was a horror movie sound. Anyways, so Trihex, he's friends with the developer of the game, Dan Salvato, who's made a bunch of mods for Melee for online stuff. And I knew he had a game coming out. I said, "Ooh, I'll play that." That's the only reason why I played this game. And even though like I'm kind of spoiling bits of it, it's crazy to me that people just don't give up the ghost. Really, they're just like, "Hey, play this game because it does this." And even you knowing that it does that won't ruin it, because one, you won't be able to pinpoint when it's going to happen, and two, you'll just be shocked. Like, it's just it's a really visceral, subversive gaming experience that doesn't really happen anywhere else. So that's my choice.
Taylor, we haven't heard from you yet.
I got
gaming.
I got two. One was the one from my childhood, which was Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Ooh. That's fair.
Where when, I mean, how old was I when I don't remember my exact age.
6?
But
no, I'm just kidding.
I don't think I'm that young. Ocarina, was it 1997 it came out?
97, yeah.
So, I mean, I was between 10 and 12.
Oh my goodness.
And it must have been like when you turned into adult Link, or maybe when you went, like, the first time you had to go back to Kid Link and the zombies, and it was just like I don't want to do this.
I still get super stressed out when the sun sets on the main overland. Yeah. And
it was just like, I'm not going to do it. And I actually remember I had a family friend when we were kids, and we convinced him, he was like 3 years younger than me. We convinced him that you actually had to wait 12 years before you could play the game once you put the sword to pull out the Master Sword. Anyway, that's what it felt like when eventually I actually picked it back up and played it on my own N64 and finished Ocarina of Time. That was, dude, I don't know, the zombies just got me. Like the sound design, all about it. As far as more recent, I'm going to take you all back to like 2011, 2012.
Okay.
Valve decides that they're going to do an ARG for Portal 2. The Potato Sack. And
what?
Are you guys familiar with the Potato Sack ARG?
No.
All right, so Dolly's not.
Oh, he hasn't played Half-Life 2, so
yeah,
that's true. You're a hater. I forgot about that. So Valve did ARGs for both Portal games, for Portal 1 and for Portal 2. But for Portal 2, they wanted to kind of like do it up even more than Portal 1. So what they did was get 12 games, right? I think 12 games. Some of the developers were doubled, where this was actually, it was so fucking sick. Valve worked with each one of them and the devs for each one of the games built in little secrets into their games, and they all tied back to little hidden gems for the upcoming release of Portal 2. They were sold as a bundle pack. It was called the Potato Sack. GLaDOS being the potato from Portal 2.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, one of those games was Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Amnesia: The Dark Descent, made by Frictional Games. Originally, they started out making the Penumbra series, which was
very scary games.
I mean, like they are some of the original. When did the first Penumbra come out? 2007 for Windows and Mac. And I don't know, like I can't. I've tried to go back to the Penumbra. I can't do it. And honestly, of all of the 12 games, because like they were really esoteric little things that you had to complete in order to get these achievements, so that you can unlock Portal 2 a day early. And actually, one of the things that Valve did was they gave you the entire Valve Complete pack, where every game that Valve has ever made, they gave you a copy of it. It was really, really fucking cool. But anyway, the hardest part was Amnesia: The Dark Descent, because it's not a physically it's not demanding in any sense, but you had to play the game through the scary parts in order to get this achievement, and it will never leave my brain, because I don't really play that many horror games. The only other horror game that I really recall ever doing was Silent Hill 4: The Room, when I rented it for Xbox. I didn't beat that. I didn't. Let's just say that was a one-time rental. I didn't come back to it.
Fucking game.
But yeah, I technically own Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I'm never gonna beat it. It's not gonna happen. Yeah. But yeah, that's Frictional Games, and all the stuff that they make is very good if that's the kind of thing that you want to play. Scorn, I'm okay with. I'll play Scorn. But Amnesia? Mm-mm.
Yeah, Scorn is Cronenberg scary. It's not.
Yeah. Amnesia just like fucking chills me to my bones, man.
Yeah. I mean, I love those Amnesia games, but like
I gotta get back in. I can get back into those games. JJ, do you have any other ones? Any other games?
Lost all horror, because once you see that monster, it's just kind of like over. He's a little goofball.
I mean, the whole point is that you don't want to see him, and I trust this man. I avoided the whole time.
Clock Tower.
Yeah, okay.
Fucking love Clock Tower. Clock Tower is Dario Argento as hell, and I love Dario Argento movies, and boy howdy is this like clearly inspired by him. Like the point and click adventure horror is something that that is a tense scenario. And to think, like, I played the PlayStation 1 version of that game. I didn't know it was a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, nobody knew.
Yeah, until way later. I've since then played it, and that game's, even as a Super Nintendo game, is very scary.
Yeah, nice.
And I, in terms of more recent horror, Alien Isolation.
Okay.
Yeah. I really, really like Alien Isolation. It does a really good job at making you feel like you're in constant danger, and because you are. And also it has the I played it on the Xbox with the Kinect functionality, so you also had to be quiet because the game could hear you. McDonald's, and then back to the game. But that game really fucked with me. I don't like the Outlast games. Those are probably the most modern horror things. They're not fun, and I really don't like if a game has a button that's specifically designed to have you look behind you. I'm like, that's cheap horror.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it.
Zombie U kind of had that.
Yeah, and not Amnesia. Outlast sort of relies on the shock value of stuff going on, like, and now you're strapped to a board and we're gonna cut your dick off. So listen, that's a thing that is happening in that game. That is not me making a joke. That's
like that game, it's like it isn't about. It's like a what's the term? Like a fun house or like a horror house. It's just
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
like a
like
haunted
yeah.
house.
yeah, it's like that's that experience. That's not really that
Yeah.
scary. Like
Yeah,
uh,
I like a good haunted house, like where like but like that's just not like they fucked that whole thing up, and it's the fact that it's like a trilogy is
it's a multiplayer
absurd.
game now.
Yeah, because like didn't like the Outlast Trinity just come
Mhm.
out or some nonsense? So yeah, but
I'm going to read a few from the question of the week in the Discord. Johnny Wag says SNES Clock Tower. He played that back in
yeah,
2007. Yep. I mean, he mentioned Argento's films. He also said Alien Isolation. That's the modernish one. Probably his favorite horror game.
Yeah.
I have to play that. I know I have it in like 5 different platforms. I got to play that. He said honorable mentions are Soma, Stories Untold, and RE7, and then Dead Space. So I had Stories Untold is it's on sale right now, by the way.
Yeah.
Because the developer is what they're working on next. But
Yeah.
Silent Hill. They're working on a Silent Hill thing, right?
Yes. They're
So
working on Silent Hill.
yeah, definitely good choices there. And Stefan says From Software's PS2 survival horror title Kuon was creepy as heck. Brilliant use of atmosphere for a feudal Japan Silent Hill setting.
Yeah.
And another one on the PS2 was The Suffering, and then I've never heard of that. And then finally on the DS, Teresia Dear Emile is a hybrid visual novel, point and click survival horror adventure by Axis. JJ, you probably have that already.
Yeah. You know.
So yeah, there's some good recommend, and of course we saw Playlands. He mentioned the NES game. So yeah, there's some good stuff.
I also just for a nostalgic purpose, we just want to remind everyone that Condemned Criminal Origins is actually a pretty good little horror game back on the 360 era. I thought that was true. I thought that was a good.
The horrors of being homeless.
Yeah,
the horrors of being homeless. I'll be energyless if I don't get to bed here soon enough. It is Halloween night. 3 of us have already fully celebrated, handed out candies or eaten candies. I'm about to eat some more. I'm also gonna zonk out pretty quickly here. But
right
he's eating some candy right there. Dabu J. With that said, we want to thank everybody for joining us this evening, all the viewers, listeners, everybody who took time out from their Halloween festivities to hang out with us, which is everybody. Everybody did. We're the only podcast on a Monday night on a holiday, so it's good. With that said, you can find us at sidequesting.com, SideQuesting TV on Twitch and YouTube. I should probably make a SideQuesting TV Twitter. Twitter's dead. Never mind. A TikTok account. But the Discord. Hop in that Discord. We have a lot of fun, a lot of cool people in there. Had some new folks join us this week, talk about adventure games, which I love. So
Mario 64.
Wario 64 is now in our Discord.
He's directly posting
nonstop. Dude is
Discord.
Nonstop post. I had to mute
crazy.
I had to mute him.
I have to mute his channel. Yeah.
Mute his channel. But we'll see you on the next episode. Zach, we can find you at OKQuest. Yep. JJ at _double_J. Taylor at Taylor Bliss. I'm at Dolly Domofsky. And yeah, of course, the Discord. Find us in Discord. And we'll see you all in the next episode of The
SideQuest.